In 2018, at Parliament, on February the 23rd, we were rallying for medical cannabis use, or at least that's what we heard. There are some that get it, but not very many. But for those that do, it costs a pretty penny. Medicinal value, it has none. The lie to keep it in Schedule 1. They told that lie for many years. Plus, it's dangerous, which adds to the public fears. Which I've never believed because it just ain't true. And you hearing this should know it too. In the world outside of Britain, we know the truth is out. Cannabis is essential, is what I hear them shout. So there we were in our pain, outside Parliament once again. So what was our purpose and what did we gain? A date set in summer when it'll probably rain. Another date set because it didn't get read, filibustered by someone who wrote Rosette is red. If that makes you angry, confused, miffed or sad, don't be surprised, they're all just as bad. Whichever is elected, they're all just as dim. Whoever you vote for, the government gets in. I told you before that they didn't give two fucks. They'd rather have talks about eider ducks. Pinky and Jeff were arrested. Later, I heard. At the time my brain was absent and not a part of the herd. But the government in power, that lot in blue, they say they are waiting for you'll never guess who. The organisation that really don't have a clue. Hash isn't resin on their website, it's true. So back to the politics, let's do what they do. 'Cause I'm 15 feet wide and it's 1262. And all this palaver about something that grew. Now perhaps here is the news to take your mind off of the coronavirus epidemic. Whoops, it just reminded you, a bit like asking someone not to imagine a multicoloured elephant or any old horse on a skateboard. And what do you think of? Cannabis, poetry, news and activism. Seems a strange combination. Although they fit really well during our present herbal castration. Obsolete laws, not fit for purpose, quite in need of cessation. Then we can make smoking a spliff, more than mere assignation. Wake up, politicians, make some proper laws, then you will cause celebration. Cannabis, poetry, news and activism seems a perfect combination. With a new weed order blooming in sight across the human nation, I'll start again. Greetings from the Breaking420 News team, seeking, as we do, cannabis integration into mainstream culture here in the UK and the rest of the world. Once again, brought to you by a bender scum, with absolutely every expense ignored. Last week we mentioned Gary Youds and we are pleased to say he's still free. We start with the UK news, of which court appearances being often our starting point. Jim Harwood appeared in Swansea Crown Court today, Friday the 13th at 10 AM, and we've just heard he received a 2 years conditional discharge and £100 fine, which people have spoken about already, about setting up a crowdfunder to cover it. Good on you, man. Another herbalist, Lisa Andrews, will appear in Sheffield on the 17th. She intends to plead not guilty. Links to the court support group are in the blah blah blah. We urge you to join and try to support any cases in your locality. Brighton. The owner of the UK's first cannabis restaurant, Sami Ben Rabar in Brighton, has been charged with supplying cannabis, whilst in fact he was, at least he thought, selling legal CBD. Naomi Morris, who also sold CBD products at the Hemp Life head shop in London Road, was also charged with the intention to supply cannabis. Sammy spent tens of thousands of pounds setting up Canna Kitchen in Duke Street and believed he was working within the law. We agree and think that these cases should be dropped, as CBD is legal. So what's the problem if it's contained in a bottle or a bud? They both pleaded not guilty and elected for Lewis Crown Court, 9th of April, 9:30 p.m. a.m. not p.m. Typo. So we wish them well, but cannot see in the name of fairness where they have broken the UK law, as saying CBD is illegal should be saying all CBD is illegal, but it's not. After all, HNB, along with most UK chemists, are allowed to sell with impunity. Customs. Recent changes to importing restrictions will now permit importers to order and stock more cannabis for medicinal use, allowing faster access to legal cannabis prescriptions for those that can afford them from the new private medical cannabis clinics that are popping up here and there. Now, world news. A United Nations meeting, very important to the future of cannabis in the world, previously postponed, has finally been scheduled for December the 4th, 2020, when United Nations representatives will be meeting in Vienna, Austria, to look at changing the scheduling of cannabis and related products under international drug control conventions as recommended by the WHO, World Health Organization, on the basis of science. You don't even know what hash is. Canada. Reports are in that much of the allure of underground cannabis comes down to price. People buying unlicensed cannabis enjoy prices on average nearly half of those on the legal market. So now, value brands, often in bulk price options, are being used as an option to lure people away from the illegal market. With being allowed to grow 4 plants as well. In an interview with Canadian resident Adrian Robert Plant from Wallisburg, Ontario, he talked about the situation for him as a medical user with regards to GYO. He told us, yes, everyone is allowed 4 plants, except in a couple of provinces. It is easy to get a medical prescription. He said, I paid, then Skyped with a doctor, and she hooked me up for 25 grams a day. Then they filled out the forms for Health Canada for a home medical grow licence, sent it to me, I signed it, then mailed it away to Health Canada. I got approved for 94 indoor plants, 24 outdoor, and my 4 legal ones for a total of 120 plants. I'm allowed 9,000 grams in storage, 150 grams on my person, and a 30-day supply if I travel within Canada. He also added, talking about the underground prices, White Widow is $25 a Q, that's £14.24. Blonde pressed hash is $120 an ounce, which is £68.33. Black hash, $200 an ounce, £113.88. Whereas the legal mark is almost twice that for mid-grade weed. He added, my buddy paid $114, £64.91 for a Q of legal sour diesel, and it gave us both a sore throat. Corporate swag. In the USA. In New York, the first medical marijuana dispensary opens on Staten Island. The states are changing more and more. In Ohio, it's looking good for grow your own. With changes, residents will be allowed to grow 6 plants. In Boston, the first recreational marijuana store opens following 3 years of legislation, and the same goes in Kalamazoo County, Michigan. So it's looking like the facade of prohibition is finally crumbling. We hope to watch its demise like Nero playing the fiddle while watching Rome burning. Now, events with the you-know-what spreading across the globe. Events are being postponed or cancelled outright. Many of the usual World Cannabis Cup type events in the USA have already been cancelled. But now, Cannabis in Barcelona has been cancelled, and in Canada, the 420 protest on Sunset Beach is also cancelled because in Canada they're not allowing gatherings of more than 250 people. At the moment, here in the UK, no events have been cancelled so far. In England, but Ireland and Scotland have banned public gatherings of more than 500 people until the 29th of March. So if this is extended, which it's very likely to be, Hempstock in Glasgow and the 2020 Belfast March may well be casualties of the onslaught. In England, all events are still scheduled to go ahead at present, but subject to change. We will keep you informed as time progresses. We hope to have an update in the next edition, which incidentally will be moving to a new Thursday spot on March 26 at 4:20, and then fortnightly from there onwards. We would have moved before, but didn't want you to think we're scared of Friday the 13th. We've had some news from the Borafest crew about their space program. The Borafest space program, high as fuck experimental balloon capsule, I think it's called. Part of the 2020 Borafest space project, this capsule will film a piece of UK glass to the edge of Earth's atmosphere, reaching over 130,000 feet, at which point the capsule will be pretty much frozen solid at -70 degrees and the balloon will pop. It should then return safely to Earth on a parachute. The glass rig will be attached on the end of a boom within the camera frame. There is a clever little data logger inside that will give them a 3D Google map of the entire flight once the capsule has returned to Earth and has been found using GPS. Good luck with that, guys. Speaking of Borafest, the organisers have offered Breaking420 News a free weekend camping ticket to this year's Borafest to one lucky winner. All you need to do is send an email to blowme@benderscum.rocks. The address will be in the blah blah blah. All entries will be drawn from my hat and the winner announced on Thursday the 26th in the news. I personally have, under advice, until this thing has moved on, decided not to attend any events in the foreseeable future due to my compromised immune system and my already limited lung function and other ongoing medical blah blah blahs. Which only leaves me to mention remember to medicate. CC Guide, the long-time campaigners guide full of history, legislation and events, among other stuff, and of course the Don't Beat Me Up advert for the book, for this book. Published by Alan Buffery, including lots of, oh yeah, hang on, this lot, they don't look anything like that lot, this lot. Their poems and stuff, including some of mine. And of course, you know why I have to make this announcement, because otherwise Winston Matthews, Alan Buffery and Phil Monk have said together the three of them will beat me up. I still think I can take them, but I'm not going to go there. And of course, here's my rubbish book. I have to be mentioned because, it's full of blah blah blah, which is good for me. Oh yeah, and there's this poem or something, whatever you want to call it. This is to anyone that says they like my poetry. I just make it up, so to speak, in all honesty. Whatever you think you saw or you read, believe when I say it came straight from my head. Or maybe you're sure it was something you heard, but that sort of notion is simply absurd. So, for what you just heard, I refuse to take blame. You may not have heard right, so it gives me no shame. Wish I was someone who is known to be clever, like that bloke in the song, the bloke named Trevor. But the fact is, clever is something I ain't, and I only write this crap on the days I can't paint. I don't properly plan the stuff that I write, therefore it may come out sounding like shite. I never get worried over what's in my head. I jot it all down so it may well get read. However, I is prolific when my broken body actually lets me. At least it is with scribbling, and I do that quite intensely. Mind would allow it all of the time. But when my body hurts, I do it in rhyme. It's gobbledygook and nonsense, see, and I'm very glad it's out of me. Phew. If you get my drift, or not, it's okay, because I'm a tad short of oil, and I don't mean olay. My mind can write gibberish all day long, and if you're not careful, I may sing a song. Satirical politics, that's the way that I roll. It may not be that funny, but I still find it droll. If you take me too seriously, I suggest you just stroll. Try to find secret smiles that you obviously hide. They are there to make more blissful anandamide. So you see then, my poetry just isn't real. It's just some rambling on about the way that I feel. Sometimes it's nonsense because I feel that way too. Or gobbledygook, but I still think that's true. But if you do like it, that is also quite fine. Just as long as you realise not all poetry rhymes, and not all rhyming words should be considered poetic. In fact, sometimes something way more prophetic. Was all of that lying, or was some of it true? That foot's firmly entrenched on a different shoe. Stay safe, people. Try to keep your endocannabinoid system topped up. I will. Leave nothing but footprints. Take nothing but pictures. Kill nothing but time. Namaste.